Welcome to Equalizer TV Online. Today we'll be joined again by our friend Robert Ledegar, a Navy veteran and career federal agent of the U.S. Marshal Service. We'll revisit the most salient human aspects of his case, the injustices he has suffered, and the reflections his story as a former member of the U.S. Marshals compels us to make. Let's meet with Robert again. We invite you to share it with us. Welcome, Robert, to the second Equalizer episode of your continuation of the interview. Thank you for, giving us the time. Really appreciate this.
Oh, I thank you for giving me the time to talk and put my story out there and answer all these questions of what really happens.
To me, your story is one of the most important stories out there. And the reason is that I lived through it. Just like so many whistleblowers over the time, Frank Serpico, David Dirk, Joseph Tromboli, and so many names over the years, both federal and state, city, and all over the country. Let me ask you, there are several organizations I want you to name that help whistleblowers. The National Police Defense Foundation, which handles law enforcement officers in all types of cases. What other organizations are out there? And please talk a little bit about them so the people listening might have a family member that is going through an issue and need their support.
Well, of course, the National Police Defense Foundation, that the leading one right there. They're the best of the best. Then I was with, and I'm still with, Whistleblower Network News, and that's the Government Accountability Project. They're connected. And Whistleblowers of America are the main ones that I connected with and shared my story with, and it was put out there. And they just connected me with a bunch of different people and education, a lot of education, but it was really the National Police Defense Foundation that put together a legal fund to help me, with my attorney fees.
It is very expensive to fight these cases, and it takes a toll on the bank account, it takes a toll on your health, blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, because of the stress, the amount of stress that a lot of whistleblowers go through. And
the stress destroys you, and it gets in your head, because when you read what they write about you, you overthink it, and you think that you're a bad person, and you can't sleep, you can't eat, you can't focus, you can't enjoy your life at all. I've lost so many moments or memories or quality of life experiences with my wife and my family that I can never get. I've lost out on so many great opportunities. We've lost so much money. It's just, you can't talk about it. It's embarrassing. We went through so many bad times that nobody understands, nobody gets, because it's like when you work in this field, us being cops and military and veterans, we went to school, we went through training, we met qualifications, we do our requirements, we have standards, and they take that all away from you and try to hurt you more and more each time by saying that you're no good when there's nothing there.
Now, this is departmental issues that you went through or that I went through, not criminal issues. How do you feel when you see criminal conduct being rewarded and protected by higher-ups within all of these organizations? Meaning that The newspapers leak out the information. Complainants are there complaining that there's criminality, and that you have district attorneys who don't want to prosecute, they don't want to investigate, they don't want to take the time, and all of a sudden, the same person gets promoted. And I'm going to give you a good case. The mafia cops, Ippolito and Caracappa, committed a lot of homicides on the behalf of the mob. For years, Ippolito was one of the highest decorated officers in the history of the department. Caracappa, his partner, went to the major case squad, was in the anti-terrorist task force, had all types of high-level jobs. But they never went to jail until after they retired, until after they got their pension. Does that seem fair to you?
Not at all. They were well protected because of all the information they knew of all the other dirty, bad law enforcement that they worked with, I believe.
Right.
Of who was connected with who. There's so many people from the mafia to other criminals to the other bad law enforcement. No, it's not right.
No, and that's only one example. And it goes all over the United States and all over the world. There is a culture of protect bad apples within the organizations, and then they want to hammer the guy that's not wearing the hat, that didn't cut his hair, that his boots are not shiny, that didn't like what the sergeant said and answered back. You know, because these organizations call themselves quasi-paramilitary organizations, but they're not.
They're not. It's so confusing. It's so distorted. And to go into my case, and it's so simple. And with Dawn, we had evidence, hard evidence, physical photographs, statements of the guys that were going at that they committed crimes. They were stealing.
They went as far as even peeing on her property.
They peed in her food. They tried to run her off the road. They were putting screws in my tires. Then they just lied. The false statements they said against us, and they all knew it. But people should have been arrested. They should have been fired. People should have went to jail.
And it's very simple. With today's technology, triangulation of phone
it's so easy.
You could tell where that person was at a particular time. If you have 10 targets, you pull out the records. You look who's calling who. I mean, it's basic investigative techniques.
Yes.
Call themselves investigators only when it suits them. And they only utilize their knowledge when it suits them. But then they put the entire system and waste millions of dollars to go after like somebody like yourself. Isn't that embarrassing?
They all want to wear the t-shirt of the job I do because they can't do it. They can't wear the police shirt that I do the job of, but they want to wear it.
Right. It's like, you know, the culture is just out of control. And if you're reading the papers on a daily basis and everything that's going on in the New York City Police Department and other departments around the United States, I am not bad-mouthing good police officers and good supervisors. I'm bad-mouthing systems that allow the 1%ers that are corrupt, that are violent, that do make the job even harder for good law-abiding officers. You see what is happening? They're beating up agents because they're trying to do their job. Agents now are wearing, masks because they don't want to be, they don't want to reveal their identity.
Well, I think people are afraid And I don't understand. Well, I do understand why, because it happened to me. People are afraid to tell the truth and come forward to go up against the bad actors, the bad cops, because they're afraid of them. They're afraid to be labeled and judged as being a rat or a turncoat or somebody that just went, they're going to call you a liar. And that's the problem. And it's the leaders, it's our leaders that aren't courageous, but they support the bad guys to hurt the good guys. And it's a shame, because there's more good guys than bad guys, cops. There's more good guys.
They're great cops. Let me tell you something.
There's more, and they're not, and it's a shame that they can't tell the truth. They can't come out and help somebody, because they're going to get targeted and labeled and betrayed and retaliated against and hurt. It's a shame. And then the lawyers know that, the judges know that, and they don't come up either and tell the truth. Everybody's lying.
I sent a message to all the honest agents and officers. If you see it and you don't report it, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
If
well, I saw my thing.
It, then we wouldn't have this problem.
When people heard about what happened to me and what I was involved in when Dorn came to me, there's people, and they'll tell you today that I was screwed. From the moment Dawn came to me, I was screwed. Because it's tell the truth and defend her, or lie and defend the bad guys. I was going to get hurt no matter what. And that's what happened. But I told the truth. And I stuck with that the whole way, because it was my wife who reassured me by saying she was proud of me for protecting Dawn. So my wife saw me doing the right thing.
And like I said, Robert, a lot of us are proud of you taking a stand. One veteran to another, I take off my hat and salute you.
Thank you.
Because we need more people in law enforcement who really care, not self-serving puppets in empty suits that go up the ranks and they give each other medals and they promote each other and they give each other diplomas and pats on the back, and they go to these parties to love themselves, when in the reality they do nothing.
William, my wife, when we talk later on about what happened to us, my wife said this comment. She's like, the men involved with the bad things to Dawn, those men are married to women, and some of them have daughters. And you do this to another woman.
Yeah, they do it because they have a misconception of whatever the gender or the identity of that person. And that comes from when you're growing up. If they make you a bigot to hate Latinos, blacks, Chinese, other people, right? You will grow up to be a bigot. If your father tells you, hate gays, hate lesbians, hate this, hate that, that's what you're going to have. Instead of learning about that person and value them for who they are, you got to open up a book. You can't judge it by its cover.
Yeah, you can't.
You got to give everybody an opportunity. Doesn't matter what religion they are. It doesn't matter from where they came from. America is built on immigration. All of us came from somewhere. Our generations came, whether it was from Ireland, Italy, South America, Asia, whatever we came from. But if you look at the armed forces, you have somebody representing that culture in uniform, willing to give up their lives for this country.
Yes.
And that's America. That's our essence. Illegal migration, what happened during the Biden administration is that it was checked. There was balances in checks. They just opened the border and allowed people that shouldn't be here. Okay, you know, people with criminal records, with mental problems, people that have big issues, and they were sent by socialist countries, like Venezuela and other places.
Yeah.
This stabilized our nation, a nation that I don't want people like that in this country.
No, of course not.
The country, I don't want people like that, because we have the best country in the world. The United States, no matter how imperfect and how much we could criticize it, but we criticize it not to damage the institutions. We criticize it because we care enough to want to see change, so the organization runs fairly and smoothly for everyone that took that test, that got in that job, and that is trying to have a career. Yesterday, they sentenced an FBI agent he was a supervisor, that had a tattoo parlor, and he was raping women. The FBI didn't even know he ran a tattoo parlor, and he was raping women. Do you really want somebody like that on the job? I don't care what agency they're in.
Right.
Then you had cases in the DEA in Colombia. An agent that was laundering money, doing his own drug deals, stealing money, doing all types of things. Do you want somebody like that working for you?
Of course not. Of course not.
I'd rather have somebody like you that's trying to help another marshal that took his time, because it was your job as a supervisor to listen to someone that works for you, to hear their complaints, and to try to nip that. And it could have been nipped without going any further.
And yes, you're right. And all those things, everything that came up against me with that, you're so right. It could have got nipped in the butt right there. People would have been moved around. It could have been no problems. It could have been handled, but egos and attitude just destroyed it.
What was the toughest moment for you during this entire process? I know you had a lot of them, but there had to be one, whether it's facing your father and mom, whether it's talking to them about that I'm no longer in the Marshal Service, or facing your kids, them seeing you sitting at home and not going to work. What was the toughest moment for you?
It was the day I was called by my chief to tell me that I was terminated. It was the last day, and I was in home, and it was all COVID that I was fired. Then it was going through the court cases and the judge finding in favor of the marshals. After hearing the people we put on the stand, after hearing the deciding official say she used the wrong policy to make a decision against me, and that she didn't take the letters into consideration, she didn't care or consider all the positives and the support from all my chiefs. She didn't listen to the chief of internal affairs say there was no lack of candor. She just used her own opinion and speculated against me, even though she knew from past things that I was being targeted. But she was part of the problem as well. She was one of the good old boys.
That's what they call the fix is in. It doesn't matter what you have to say, because they already knew what the outcome was going to be before you even walked into the courtroom or the room where they were holding this hearing. What would you say to a federal agent or a police officer anywhere in this country or any agency who is willing and is considering reporting misconduct or wrongdoing by his coworkers?
I would do it. I would do it again, but before I did it and before I went up the way it's supposed to go, I would tell that person to speak with his union rep if it's the police department, or if it was a federal agent, to make sure he or she had a lawyer, a real lawyer that knew about employment law, and that you trust your supervisor and your chief to be there for you when you report it. And you have to report the truth. You better have the truth, and it better be in line with what you're reporting. Don't fabricate anything. Tell the real truth.
How was the process of securing your pension after you put in your appeal? And what role did the National Police Defense Foundation, NPDF, and Joseph Occhipinti play on this, and his staff?
A huge role. NPTF played a huge role because they created the Legal Defense Fund to keep my lawyers in motion for me to keep working, which is huge, and it's still active today. It's still there. For finally getting my pension, the MSPB doesn't even know I got my pension. I didn't even need the courts because I was able to go use the government against the government and get my pension because I had the time in. And I just had to read and go through these policies with the Office of Personnel Management, and learning that from other guys that went through the system, and Joe Occhipinti telling me what I can do. It took a few years, and because you have to have a clear mind. You have to learn, and it's hard to learn when you have all this pressure on you of fighting the system, that it's so wrong. But thank goodness for those people and Joe Occhipinti to help me.
And I want to get into a little bit about this. I did a comparison between what really happens to whistleblowers, a practical look. I put a thing together for you, and I want to read it out so it becomes part of this program. In federal agencies, despite legal protections, retaliation is common. Whistleblowers frequently face demotion, firing, unwarranted internal investigation, ostracism, and negative reference, even when the rules say this isn't allowed. Agencies use vague or broad charges instead of clear violations. Whistleblowers are often disciplined under general rules like conduct unbecoming, lack of candor, or prejudicial conduct, making it hard to prove retaliation. Internal systems are slow and can be biased, even with official complaint mechanisms and hearing boards. Many federal whistleblowers find the process bureaucratic, delayed, and sometimes tilted in favor of the agency leaders and the agency itself. Case backlogs delay justice. The MSPB and EEOC, equal opportunity, often have huge backlogs, so whistleblowers may wait years for a decision, sometimes losing their jobs, careers, retirement, marriages, and sometimes even their life. Outcome depend on politics and publicity. High-profile cases with media attention are often likely to result in whistleblowers' vindication. Cases without public scrutiny often end with whistleblowers suffering silently. Do not stay quiet. The NYPD is different. Broad-based rules are used punitively. The NYPD can discipline officers who speak out using one range of statutes, often without clear justification and independent review. The culture discourages whistleblowing within the NYPD. Officers who report misconduct are often reassigned to undesirable posts, denied promotions, or shamed, sending messages to others not to come forward. Retaliation can be severe. Tactics include falsified disciplinary records, workplace sabotage, forced psychiatric exams, and attempts to discredit whistleblowers and their supporters. They even knocked on neighbors' doors to try to discredit you within the neighborhood, so you're not only shunned out of the job, but also within your community. They go as far as picking up your garbage on a daily basis. And who knows what they could put in it to say that you were using drugs or had paraphernalia or child pornography within those bags. This settlements happen, but are rare. Some whistleblowers win in court or reach settlements, but the victories are uncommon and unusual, require years of struggle and public advocacy. The real power dynamics and practice. Federal agencies, the MSPB and EEOC and anti-retaliation law exists in theory. In reality, agencies use vague rules and a slow process to punish and isolate whistleblowers. In reality, retaliation is often subtle and hard to prove. Outcomes so often depend on case visibility and political factors, not just the law. There is a term called the kangaroo court, and the kangaroo court is used on the NYPD trial room because you have trial commissioners that work hand in hand with the advocate's office. They share information on a regular basis, and there are favors and nepotism and all of that. And it doesn't matter, under the preponderance of the evidence, which is a lower standard than probable cause, they could fire you, terminate you, reassign you. There was a punishment they did with me where they put me to guard in a garage underneath the Brooklyn Bridge. There is a garage where they bring police vehicles. And my job was to sit there for 8 hours with a door clicker. You couldn't listen to radio, you couldn't read newspapers, do anything. And it was just working the finger, open, close, open, close. Anytime you heard a horn, you open the door. When they went in, you close the door. That was my job. And they tried to do this to try to break you down so you quit. There is also when you went to training, one guy will whisper to another one in the ear. I had an instance where there were two guys in Costco, and they're looking at a newspaper that I came out years ago. And the guy goes, "You see that guy Acosta? I used to work with him, and he's a bad dude, you know." And I went up to him and I said, "Oh, you know Acosta? How do you know him?" "Oh, I work with him." And I said, you are a goddamn liar. I'm Acosta. You never work with me. You don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
And they walked out of Costco. And that's the type of culture you have. Immature, ignorant in a lot of senses.
You
could
do.
be smart, but you have ignorant people, gossip women, like the gossip women in the supermarkets, or the gossip women in town. That's what they do. They gossip, but they don't have no substance. They could never. I used to tell bosses, the day you walk in my boots, I'll shine them for you. Until you have walked in my boots and you have all of the mileage I have on them, don't judge me.
Right.
At the end of all of these cases, 3 marriages after, divorces, not spending time with your children grow, they fly by themselves. And you really look, was it all worth it? Was it all worth it? To me, I will do it again 1,000 times. Because change comes only for men that are willing to stand up against abuse. Against abuse of authority. It doesn't matter what type of authority it is, whether it's police authority, government authority. People need to stand up. People need to start doing the right thing. What do you think about everything I just said? I know I read you a book.
You did, and I thought it was great. You nailed everything. You nailed it. That's the perfect definition of what happens to, and the term whistleblower, us being from New York, we look at that as like, you're a rat. No, we're truth tellers. We told the truth. We didn't manipulate anything. We didn't create a story. We just told the truth of something bad that happened. And then everybody got their feelings hurt to come after you because you told the truth, and the truth hurts because it involves other people. So you nailed it. You define it perfectly of what happens to us, what had happened to us. And it needs to get out there so people know, and it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen to us for doing what we did. And I don't know why it does.
No, it's important. Can you share, do you have the NPDF website or telephone number or the site for people to donate to the fund that was set up for you?
The phone number is 732-617-2330. The website is www.npdf.org. And then when you go on there, it will bring up legal fund, and then you click on those sites and it brings you right to it. Or otherwise, you can simply just donate to the NPDF, and it will ask you in there donate what you're donating for. And if you wanted to put my name in there or any other cause that the NPDF is doing, that's great.
Do you have Operation Kids? You have the website for cops that get shot?
Yep. Yes.
What other things are there that you could explain it to the viewers?
Well, now they have a scholarship fund for members that are in on it. But the biggest part of NPDF is Cop Shot, and where they give a $10,000 reward for information leading to when a cop is shot. And it's just a great, you can go on it's just a great organization. And for what Joe Occhipinti did for so many people is amazing.
Yeah, Joe and Angela and everybody at the NPDF do such a great job on a daily basis. I mean, I really love the organization. They're having a function coming up, which is the award ceremony coming up in a couple of months. You know anything about that?
No, we just passed one, and with the one that was in Russo's, the yearly.
Oh, it just passed.
It
Sorry.
passed in May. In Russo's, it was great. There was 800 people there. Tom Holman was there, being
Yeah,
represented.
they give an honor to several
Yes,
people, and Tom Homer was one of the awardees this year.
yes, yes.
Who else did they award this year?
Oh, I don't even remember. There were several people that they had. Tom was the biggest one there.
Let me ask you: are you planning to write your story in a book?
Yes, we started writing it down, and the name of the book is going to be LED, short for my last name, LED, and that was my nickname, but it's going to be LED Being Brooklyn, because one of the guys who wrote a letter for me defined my actions as how we were when we worked in the Brooklyn office, that we all looked out for one another. And that's what I did when I protected the girl out in Long Island. I was just being Brooklyn. So
yeah, one of the bosses that was your boss at the time went on to have his own TV program for a couple of seasons, where U.S. Marshals, one of the guys that wrote the letter, I can't think of his name. They had a U.S. Marshal show where they show them in the street and all of that.
Are you talking about Lenny DePaul with the show
Right.
Manhunters? Yes.
What was the name of the show?
Manhunters?
Manhunters.
Yes.
The U.S. Marshal does a lot of captures on a yearly basis.
Yes.
People that are wanted for all types of crimes. There's also, I'd like to take this opportunity to have a little bit moment of silence for all of the marshals that have died in the line of duty, and there are many of them throughout the United States. To give the families our deepest admiration, and that their names will never be forgotten. This is not a show where we are bad-mouthing law enforcement, and I want the viewers to understand that the stories need to be told. For many, many years, many of us that have crossed that line have sacrificed too many things, and that is why, at my age, I still pick up the phone if any officer, no matter where it is, needs help, especially navigating this type of issues. There's not enough information out there. It's easy to call somebody a rat, or easy to call somebody a whistleblower, and it's a term used very lame. But if you look at the history of whistleblowing within the government, whistleblowers save billions of dollars a year by reporting mismanagement, corruption within a lot of agencies throughout our government. And they are necessary, because if not, we wouldn't have check and balances.
Right.
Document yourself well. This is one of the things I tell people. Before you make a phone call, before you do anything, document yourself well. Weigh out all your options. Maybe you, if you are a supervisor, take the person with you and let them make the complaint, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
It will save you maybe a lot of grief, because people take notice of you if you put yourself out there in the first person and put the person to shield them behind you. There are ways to do things that are just as effective.
Yes.
and don't put yourself at risk. If you're out there, even if you're on patrol, wait for backup. There's nothing that says that you have to do everything right away.
No, not at all. And
Yeah.
the actions I took, I don't regret any of them the way I did it, because it's coming out. It's coming out that I did everything correctly with reporting and speaking. And even now, today, speaking with you, I'm reserved. I'm cautious. I'm not bad-mouthing the agency. What happened to me, I'm very upset about. And I don't put everybody's names out there. I'm not tarnishing anything. It was a broken system of what we went through. And it's very unfortunate. But there's a way to overcome that. I didn't go to the media. I didn't go to drinking or drugs. I stayed the course. I listened to my family. I listened to my friends. I listened to my lawyers, and I stayed in line. You still have to protect your family. You still have to provide for your family. You still have to move forward. And doing so, you have to be honest with yourself. And I know I was. And it was the last day of one of our court hearings, with my father was with me, and he said he was proud of me. Right there, as I knew I won. And that's what I hope everybody who comes forward to tell the truth has, that same support system, because the support system is the biggest thing in the world for you.
What are you doing with yourself nowadays? You're working on yourself, or you're working for somebody else, or?
No, I'm working for a medical organization, and I go to different hospitals to do security assessments and security site visits for their insurances.
And you're enjoying it?
Yes, I very much so am. It keeps you young, it keeps you active, and I enjoy what I do. Yes.
There was one question that I want to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
When you were going through all of this, and did you lose part of your identity when you were let go without any cause?
Yes, and I think I still did, because I know that the agency has killed a part of me. It made me a different person, and I wish it didn't, because I lost some of my sense of humor. I'm scared. I'm afraid. And I was never like that. I was always courageous and had courage. Now I'm very cautious. I become more emotional and sensitive over things that I've lost stuff. And it hurts you. So yes, they did.
And how is Dawn Mahoney doing?
Dawn is, her and I we're good friends. We keep in touch. She retired. Before she retired, though, she settled with the marshals with her EEO complaint against them. They went after her. They tried to label her, but she didn't want to fight anymore. She didn't want the pressure anymore. So she settled with them, and then she retired, and she's retired now. Very happy.
That's great. If you talk to her, send my love and my regards to her.
For sure.
Respect from one veteran to another.
Yes.
a lot of us as veterans, and I make this call on this program. If you're in law enforcement, if you're a fireman, and you see another veteran, help them. Don't become part of the group trying to screw a fellow veteran. It is very hard for us to change from being in the military to adapt into civilian life.
Yes.
After you do 2 terms in the military, you indoctrinize into a certain pattern and conduct of work, where there's the UCMJ and there's a lot of rules in the military, and then you come to civilian law enforcement, and it's almost a culture shock. People are sloppy. They get a haircut when they want. They don't take showers. It's like it's like you're in a different world.
Yes.
And then you have attitudes, people that believe in being RoboCops or being indestructible, putting you in danger, putting themselves in danger with no regards for their safety or the safety of others. And I think that sometimes supervisors are needed to supervise. They're not supervising. They're worrying about stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Cases, sexual harassment, harassment on the job. Who said what to who, who took the coffee and left the lid open and maybe caused a fire. You understand? Like
Yeah.
they catch an attitude with you from when they first meet you, and you're never in their good grace. Because not everybody has to like you.
Right.
But they utilize that leverage on a daily basis to try to hurt you. Don't help me, don't like me, but don't hurt me. I'm not doing anything to deserve to be hurt to begin with. And I think, is there any closing words for today's show that you want to leave us with?
Well, I like your last part right there, William, because, people can be vicious. Don't be vicious. Don't be mean. There's no reason not to do your job and help somebody by just helping them. People need help. I'm not committing a crime. I'm not saying you have to do that. But if somebody needs help, help them. Walk them through what they're going through. Talk them through it. Get them a little bit more of help that they need. But don't set out to mentally or physically or financially hurt somebody because of personalities. It's not right. And that's how my issue started. And it should have never have happened. So
I really appreciate your candorness in this interview, and I hope to bring you back in the future, not to talk only about your case, but your experiences in law enforcement. There is a case that you were involved in, which was El Chapo Guzman. Your unit had something to do with
a lot.
Case, a lot to do with his case. So
Yeah.
there are little things that we could talk about that are not jeopardizing open investigations or anything that the public likes to hear. And
I would love that. I would love to do that. I would love to talk about the work we did. I would love that.
No, it's important. I do a lot of writing now, and I'm interviewing different agents, different people in the podcast. You're number 4. I hope that we build a good library because there are stories need to be told. There are stories out there without putting people's careers in danger, without bad-mouthing people. There are ways to do things. as we get older, we're kind of cautious and trying to ruin somebody else's life, and or ruining a case,
Right.
local case. But I really appreciate your friendship. I feel you as my brother. One of the happiest days in my life is when you came to my front door, able to give you a hug.
It was great.
That to me meant a lot, because when I was going through it, I had David Dirk. David Dirk was a lieutenant in the NYPD, and he is the one that went to the New York Times with Serpico. He's the tall guy, if you watch
Right.
Serpico, and he was my mentor and my lifeline. I had good people that worked with me. I worked directly for Walter Mack, a former U.S. attorney that became the first civilian director in the new revamping of Internal Affairs Division and the creation of the Internal Affairs Bureau during the Mullen Commission. A great individual, a very honest, and it helped me a lot. But in my career, I had good mentors. I had good people. Joseph Occhipinti, his entire organization, they do so much for so many people in law enforcement. And they like the quiet professionals.
Yes.
We go to places, we do the investigations, we help them, they move on with their lives, and everybody's happy. I'm here for any law enforcement officer that needs to speak, that is going through the same thing. It is very hard to navigate on your own.
It is.
I put myself out to anybody's service that needs somebody to listen.
Well, William, I want to say thank you to you. You saved my life. You saved my life. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here today, because I wouldn't have had the National Police Defense Fund. I wouldn't have had the moments I had with you throughout these years to talk when I needed to talk, to go over stuff, to get the truth, to be told what I needed to know. And it was you. So thank you very much. Thank you for letting me come on your show. Thank you for talking to me. Thank you for helping me. And most of all, thank you for saving my life.
No, my brother, like I said, you are a brother to me. And it doesn't matter where we walk in life. My door is always open in my house. My phone will always be picked up, no matter what time it is. When you feel lonely, when you feel down or whatever, I'm here. And I want you to know that from the bottom of my heart. My family knows your story. They are big supporters of you and of your cause. And it's important that, that we keep this going. Send my love and regards to your children, to your lovely wife, and be safe in your travels. And we'll talk this week.
Yes, sir. We sure will.
This has been our show for today. The conversation with Robert Ledegar, a Navy veteran, U.S. Marshal Service supervisor, and most importantly, a man of unwavering integrity. Finds a sharp contrast between the ideals of public service and the realities faced by those who challenge misconduct from within. Thank you, and have a great night. Till the next show. Thank you.
Thank you.